the riders start, well, you're not pulling enough turns, I'm not going to pull enough turns, and the speed drops off a little bit. They start to play, and that's when the peloton can take advantage of that. I don't think they'll start doing it for a while, but if they do it sooner, it's going to affect them, and the chances are only going to come slimmer and slimmer.
Pascal Ackermann, remind you, in this group with Jordi Meus as well. Man with his hand up there with the number 46 on his back is Luca Mozzato, Italian rider for Arkea Samsic. At the front of the race, the gap is the lowest it's been for quite a while. 1:07 now as Taco Vodderhorn just does his shoes up ready. Remember, surviving from the morning breakaway for the second year running. There's something about this race he likes. There's something that he wants to target.
He knows what he was doing as well. Went in the early break. He said he wanted to do well in this race, didn't he? As you said, Rob. In an interview, he said, someone asked him about the win. He was like, it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't affect me. I've got my game plan. And he must have gone in that early break just, as I previously said, about doing as little as possible. He'll have been in that breakaway just doing the minimum, just doing the less amount of what he can, pushing on the pedal as little as possible and just trying to save himself. The inevitable would happen where he'll get caught, and he needs to be as fresh as possible so he could do what he's doing now and follow.
Why would he get in that early break? Would it to be avoid all the chaos behind?
Yeah, ultimately avoid all the chaos behind. Just free run into the climbs. He can take the food he needs to. He can get the drinks on board. He don't have to fight for the feed zone. He don't have to worry about fighting for position, because fighting position ultimately is what the class is about. You can waste so much energy by just fighting for one place on the road, two places on the road, and that's what makes positioning the riders that can position so much better, what makes them successful almost in a way in the classics, because they can save so much energy while doing that compared to a lot of the other riders in the peloton. Not everyone can position as well as the best rider.
They're on the same stretch of road now. 1 minute 6 seconds, the long straight road, and there's plenty of these on the circuit. Brent van Moer's ridden brilliantly today. Lotto Destiny continue to ride. That's because their young man, 20 years of age, Arnaud Delis, who wasn't even born the last time Lotto Destiny won an opening weekend race, I should say. André Schmil, their last winner in this race. Is this to be the next man, the next generation? Yesterday, second in the Omloop.
I think that's Van Moer done. I think Delis then just give him a little pat. You can see him just moving down the line, just in next to that first Jumbo-Visma rider there. So it's just... Yep, so Lotto have lost a rider on the front now, Rob. And he's Seneschal and the Cofidis rider left on the front.
And the Cofidis rider is Alexis Renard. And we're getting information from Jocelyn, who's producing us from our headquarters in Paris. Thanks for this, Jocelyn. Of course, he's the head of all things that we talk about on here, and he's getting information that there has been a fire just outside the finish line area. So there will be a deviation, a diversion on the final local lap. We're yet to find out exactly how that will roll. It looks as though it might be a little longer though. Not the news that these five in the front were hoping for.
That might give the peloton a chance to put that fire out though, Rob. Badum.
I was about to say that Jumbo-Visma had lit up the race, but there you go.
Whee, coming in thick and fast.
17 Ks to go, or maybe a little more. 1 minute 8 seconds. Over the River Lea we go. And heading towards KUURNE. Those flags have been blowing all day long. And the riders are about to change direction several times on the final lap. We're not far away from our first passage of the finish line, which comes with just under 13 Ks to go, I think.
What might affect this is there's that long straight, as I was talking about before, Rob, before the left-hand turn towards the finish line. If that fire affects that, that could play quite a big part for the riders that might have other plans, because that is one of the long straights where you are able to use the wind to your advantage if you can, put it in the gutter and try and split it up. If that doesn't go down there, it could affect the likes of what Dylan van Baarle might be thinking with Christophe Laporte in this bunch, what Stuyven might be thinking with a couple of teammates in there as well. The guys that know that they can't beat Jacobsen, De Lee in a sprint, they'll have to try something else. And if that straight's not in there, a very good straight bit of road where you can split things, if that's not in there, that could change what they do, maybe attack earlier. But with these guys riding, I can't see it happening just yet. We'll find out when we go down that straight if it does happen.
We're also getting some news now from our colleagues on the ground from Flemish television that say that the fire might well have been sorted in time and there might not have to be a change in the end to the route. Thanks to Jeroen van Pelegem for that information. It's exciting. There's extra unknowns into the mix as the gap goes now just over a minute.
It's coming down, isn't it? It's coming down. 15k to go. It's been around that 1:15 mark for a long time. There's still a lot of riders in that group that haven't pulled on the front yet. Trek Segafredo have got a couple in there. Cofidis have started pulling late in there. We saw Francis de Joux pulling ever so slightly for a couple of seconds. Bahrain have got some power in there, but they can't pull because they've got Mohoric in there. Jumbo-Visma have got some, well, quite a lot of firepower in there, but they can't do anything because they've got two riders in the front.
Alexis Renal continues to ride. His compatriot just behind him is Florian Sénéchal. Arnaud Delis has used up Brent van Moel already, and Lotto Destiny wait. A couple of other riders start to move up. I think Van Moel is still sitting on the back there trying to run some food down to see if he can be of any use.
5 minutes, just a respite in the wheels, and you might be able to do another turn, another couple of Ks on the front, which Delis will be massively grateful for if he can do that. Wrong way round the roundabout there for Ackerman and Van Baarle.
Ackerman should be doing everything he can to try and save energy here, shouldn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
Of course, he'll be hoping that his teammate Tim Wellens can pull this off. Third a few years ago. But if he can't, Ackerman, and it comes back together, we'll have to do something as Taco Fodderhorn continues to smile.
Mohoric knows that Benoot and Wellens have to attack ultimately. They know that they have to go, and I think a lot of the pressure, a lot of the Van Hooijdonk will obviously, if Benoot goes, he gets a free ride, he doesn't have to chase that down. Taco, he'll rely on Mohoric to close those down. So I think Mohoric has got quite a lot of pressure on his shoulders in terms of he knows those attacks have got to come. They know that they can't sprint, so they know they have to try something else. And for Van Hooijdonk, he can benefit from that. He can just say, well, I'm not riding because I've got Tish behind, or Tish can say, I'm not riding because I've got Van Hooijdonk behind. They've got that joy of having two teammates in there. But ultimately, for me, they have to get rid of Mohoric and they have to get rid of Taco, because Taco, as we know, is quite quick when he needs to be.
Adam,
tell me.
It's gone to below a minute. And these
Finally.
are the big riders in this group confirmed on the graphics now.
You look at the wind.
32 who are here.
The wind as well, Rob, sorry. The wind here as well. We're talking about how riders might use this as a benefit on the final lap here. They're going to do this again, and I think this is the straight just before the finish here. It's open, it's wide. You can see the riders moving up. Jumbo-Visma moving up on the left-off side. Traknik moving up with Christophe Laporte in his wheel. They all want to be out of the wind a little bit. Magnus Sheffield just not caring, just absolute beast, just doing it on his own. But if the likes of Traknik want to do this with Laporte on his wheel, Van Baarle as well, this is a perfect opportunity to try and split things, really get those sprinters massively out of position for that last lap coming into the finish.
We know that Stuyven's in there. You can see from Marker, just see on the list that Caden Groves has made it into that group as well. Another sprinter for Alpecin Koenig, but no teammates to help him. And that's the situation that several sprinters find themselves in. Now then, here we go. The turn that is in the background of the shot here will be the last turn of the race. The breakaway riders are heading into the finale. It does look as though there has been no diversion. That's very good news for these 5 riders out there. And this is where the finale will take place. The bell is about to ring, and we're going to have one full lap around KUURNE with Benoot and Van Hooijdonk alongside Van der Hoorn, Wellens and Mohoric.
Tailwind finish as well, Rob. Super fast finish.
1 lap to go. The bell rings towards the end of KUURNE, Brussels-KUURNE. This group were away with 70 kilometres to go. And they're still there with 1 lap remaining, 12 kilometres on the flat, in the wind, and with many a left and right turn on this particular local circuit. Behind, we've got a real good collection of fast sprinters. Not too many teammates to help them set up a sprint, though. You can just see Caden Groves, left-hand side, sitting on the wheel of Davide Ballerini. He's there, he's ready. Remember, Jasper Philipsen crashed earlier on today. He missed one of the first splits. Sepp van Marke waits and follows. He's on local home roads, but all the expectation, if it does come to a sprint, heaped on Fabio Jakobsen to try and rescue the start of the season already for Soudal Quickstep, because they didn't appear yesterday. They've missed out in numbers here today. This is their territory, and yesterday they were taught a lesson by the noisy neighbours from over the border, Jumbo-Visma. They are doing that to them again today, but there's one other local home hope. It's a rider from Belgium in a Belgian team, and it's Arnaud Delis, who's here, ready and waiting. Kokar is there as well. Let's see how this pans out with 11 kilometres to go in KUURNE, BRUXELLES. The fire's been put out. Well played, local fire brigade in KUURNE. The final local lap can be taken on. Official confirmation from the local authorities. Better news for the 5 riders out the front, who've been on the attack since, well, just over halfway into this race. Taco van der Hoorn has been on the attack since the start of the race. He was in the morning breakaway, just as he was last year. This time we'll be hoping for a different result. He was caught very close to the line last time out, but he's got 4 very, very strong riders around him. OK, let's get to it, Adam, because behind they're chasing, that's what they have to carry on doing. At the front, how do the riders play it? Because we know that Mohoric on paper's the fastest. Taco van der Hoorn can sprint. 3 other riders, though, we think have to start trying to do something at some point on this final 10.5 kilometres around KUURNE.
2 definitely. Tish Benoot has to try. They've got to say out of the 2 of them who can sprint the better, and it's probably Van Hooijdonk. So Tish has to try. Wellens, yes, he can sprint, but on uphill terrain. This is not an uphill sprint. He's not that quick compared to the other 3 in there. So I'd say Tish and Tim Wellens, they have to try. They have to try and get up the road. They have to try and distance themselves from Mohoric. For the likes of Van Hooijdonk in there, he can afford to follow a little bit, put that pressure on Tish to try and get up the road and try and just follow the wheels and save himself a little bit for the sprint. Taco will look for Mohoric either to do that majority of the work and then try and take advantage of Mohoric doing that work, because we know that he's good at going solo. We know that he's a very clever and astute rider that picks his moments quite well. So it wouldn't surprise me if we saw Taco try to use up Mohoric a little bit, try and do the majority of the chasing, then try and take them all by surprise and try and go on an attack. I think he'd do that from up until about 1.5 km to go, then he'd gamble for the sprint, but that gap is still stabilised. And I was just thinking then, Rob, as they're coming into the finish straight, without the big lead-outs, without the big lead-out trains, we know how much Jakobsen especially relies on his lead-out train. With all these riders in here, this is a good chance for them all to get a result, and it is going to be very, very scrappy indeed. And with a tailwind finish, you don't have that benefit of being able to, you know, follow the wheels. It's going to be fast. There's a lot of riders that will feel a lot fresher with the tailwind as well, feel like they can do it. So for those sprinters indeed, and not having that big lead out they normally have, they're going to have to contend with 20 sprinters almost fighting for the win, rather than just a handful of lead out trains and maybe 10 sprinters. So it's going to be dangerous in that bunch as well, and with the crosswind just before the finish there might be splits happening, so it is going to be aggressive. But this front group, I expect at least 2 people from that to attack. It's got to be.
8.5 kilometres to go, and the gap is unchanged. A minute. Are they going to start fooling around?
And this is all hypothetical, because we don't really know how any of them are feeling. You know, Mohoric might feel like 10 men, and he might want to go on the attack himself and try and distance them.
Jumbo-Visma have the numerical superiority. Dutch team Jumbo-Visma on fire yesterday, changing racing, and for the 2nd year in a row breaking the rule that you need to race before omloop to win Omloop. It had been 42 years before Wout van Aert turned up on day one last year and won on day one. Yesterday, it fell to Dylan van Baarle with 6 of the 7 they lined up. Yet to turn a pedal in anger before yesterday's race in racing. They put on another exhibition so far, the way they broke the race up, the way they made the move with the 4th rider, just letting the wheel go on that climb earlier on. Tratnik couldn't stay in this group, could he? But they got 2 in the group, and they're looking good. It's been a long time since this Dutch World Tour team won this race as well, Adam. They were Rabobank the last time they won it. Roy Sintjens taking the victory back in 2003. 20 years as this group doesn't look like it's any closer to closing down the gap, Adam.
No, it went out to a 1 minute one, over to a minute, so only a few seconds, but just that few little bit of extra seconds will give that confidence to those front 5 riders. They'll get the information down the race radios, they'll be able to relay that and say, come on lads, you know, all working well together. As we said before, Rob, not one of them has started missing a beat yet, not one of them has started playing around. They've all been committed to this. They haven't got an annoyance in that group with them. It's like, no, I'm not doing turns. That would 100% be me if I was in that group, but they've not started doing it yet. No one has gambled and said, I'm going to save this for a sprint. I'm going to try and show my card early. They're all doing equal amounts of work.
No Trek Segafredo riders riding. Are you surprised at that, or is that just a decision?
Sorry, Rob, guaranteed in that crosswind, they will go with Stuyven on the wheel.
And that should be their best chance, shouldn't it? Because I can understand why they maybe aren't riding here, given the fact that, again, Jakobsen's there, the Lee's there, and we know Stuyven's fast, but on paper he's not that fast. Yeah,
I mean, he's quick in a small group, like he's in now, but with the 2 riders in there, the Lee and with Jakobsen in there, he's not as fast as those guys. So I think, you know, they're saving it. They're saving it for that. They might be going for the podium. They might be just going for the bunch sprint win at this rate, 6K to go a minute. I don't think they're going to get it back, but you can almost guarantee that they're going to try and slam it in that gutter. Hopefully Jakobsen and Lee are out of position and it splits and they miss that split. And I can also imagine Jumbo-Visma doing that. Tratnik, Van Baarle for Laporte as well.
It doesn't look like it's coming back at this stage, does it? 6 kilometres to go, 1 minute and 3. The victory surely lies in this front group. Going back to Trek Segafredo, they must know what they are doing. We know Steven de Jong certainly knows what he's doing, the sports director. He's a 2-time winner of this race. He knows his team. They've had a decent enough start to the season. We'll be hoping for a high placing here. At the minute, it looks as though one of these 5 is going to win. Are we going to see the longest drought in Belgian racing history ended here? The gap's growing now, 104. It's been 7 years since a Belgian won. The man we were just talking about, Jasper Stuyven, was the last Belgian winner in 2016. At the time, it was his first big breakthrough win, wasn't it? He's since gone on to win a monument, be up there in the Worlds, on the home roads in Leuven, and here he is racing behind with this group in front as another kilometre ticks by. Adam, it's here, isn't it, the win?
I'd say so, yeah. Just a note there as well, Tiesj Benoot a lot shorter turn than what he has been doing as well. So I noticed as well in the last 20k he's been stuffing gels down his neck quite quickly, and as we know, Tiesj he's been out of the game for a long time. He's had a terrible crash, able to come back from it. So this point in the race, at a hard race after being out the front for so long, he's probably feeling not having that much racing in his legs, or that amount of racing. And I'm talking about the end of last year as well. That all adds up. So for Tiesj, he might just be starting to suffer a little bit in that last attack. It'll be a 1 attack go, I think, basically, from Tiesj, if he can do it.
Just under 5 kilometres to go. 1:03, and Jumbo-Visma are here. An oversight on my part before. I was looking all the way back to 20 years. Dylan Groenewegen was in this team when they won it a few years ago. I always forgot he was with this squad. Once in 20 years, and they're certainly on fire again in the week. Now then, we've got to move, and we've got a little bit of a gap left there, and Taco Vodderhorn is meant to close it.
Yeah, Tiesj just got on the radio. Then I was mentioning he looked on his last legs, just doing a little bit of a shorter turn. And I think what he said then, just coming out that corner, just on the radio, Nathan, just push a little bit, push a little bit. I think Tiesj is just on his last legs. He hasn't got a lot left to do. As he runs at this, he might just have a go. Or no room, not having a go at it. But I think Tiesj is pretty much done for today. You can see him again just accelerating Van Hooijdonk, and this is a bit Mohoric, go on. Tim Wellens saying to go, but missing the wheel. Taco go into the back. As we mentioned with Taco, he can sprint, but he can also time trial very well. He can probably go on the attack, use the other riders up. He's a very clever rider.
So the games have started. The gap remains more or less the same. It's for Hooijdonk here. Wellens looking around. The mischievous looks there. The mistrust is now into the group.
The issue what Van Hooijdonk's doing here is Tish is feeling this bad. Tish is the one that's sort of saying, you do this now, you do that. They need to do role reversal, because all that Van Hooijdonk's doing here is tiring himself out, and Tish is the one that's suffering. So Tish needs to be the one on the front trying to push on and giving Van Hooijdonk that sort of free role to just follow, almost exactly role reversal what they're doing, because to me Tish looks to be the one that's suffering the most, not Van Hooijdonk.
It's slowed right down here with 3.8 Ks to go. They've got enough to play with for the moment. The message will be going back as we get the move from Benoot. Benoot bangs his way to the front, and it's down now to Mohoric to try and control. Wasn't really a big dart out the group, was it? That relatively easy, you'd say, for Mohoric to close that gap.
Tish needs a climb. He needs something hard. He needs something hard before it to be able to really stretch his legs out a little bit.
This is dangerous, though, because Mohoric looks around. He gets 1.5 meters, and now it's for Hooijdonk who has to close. And we all know how dangerous Mohoric is when he gets a gap. For Hooijdonk reacts at just the right time. He was drifting, ghosting away there.
He's drifting, ghosting. Just keep an eye on Taco. He's had to respond to attacks, but everyone else has been doing the following so far. He's putting himself on the back. He's got Tish behind him. Tish, for sure, I was going to say, should have gone again, then use that speed. It's easy for us to say doing that, but Taco, just watch him, just drifting himself to the back again, making sure he's got eyes on everyone. And if he does go, he'll use that speed to be able to go. He'll use them by surprise.
For Hooijdonk now, moves to the front. This time it's harder for Mohoric to try and close the gap, and for Hooijdonk is a little bit of a gap now. Mohoric is giving his all. He started a labour, and it's not coming back. It's not coming back at the minute. He's just about to get into the slipstream, maybe. We're on that little point where the elastic could have just snapped, and it might still yet do, because look at Nata for Hooijdonk. He's out there. He's away. He's not quite on his own yet, but he's having a real decent go at this one.
He's having a good go. He's in the slipstream, though. He's almost on that wheel. Not quite, but he's a very good bluffer as well. You can see them behind. If they were full gas, Taco would have his head right down. He's looking around. He's looking. You can see he's not full gas, but for me, Taco is just waiting. He's letting these punches go and go and go, and he'll just pick his moment when he can. Van Hooijdonk needs to get off the front. Let Tish do a little bit of this work. You can see Tish out the saddle. Tish needs to go. This is the crosswind section now, and look at Van Hooijdonk. He's just putting everyone in the gutter. No one's getting a sit off of it.
2 kilometres to go. Only one turn left, Adam. That wind blows right across this road until the final few hundred metres. It's for Hooijdonk, Mohoric, Wellens, Benoot, Van der Hoorn in that order.
Tish needs to go. Tish needs to take that pressure off Van Hooijdonk being on the front foot there. Van Hooijdonk's a quicker sprinter. He's got better legs. I think Tish needs to take that pressure off him. Force Wellens. Force Mohoric. Wellens, Mohoric.
It is Wellens up in a white jersey now. By the way, it's for Hooijdonk wearing 16 in the yellow jersey.
Here, look. This isn't good.
You can see Mohoric, pardon me, looking around. Now then, Benoot's going to go. Benoot makes his move. Can Wellens go with him? That's the question. What are the others going to do behind? They wait, they watch. You could just see Hooijdonk was trying to get in the way there. Taco Van der Hoorn moving up, doing up those shoes and getting ready. We're coming up to the Flamme Rouge now. Just 1 kilometre to go. And Mate Mohoric watches and waits at the back. Thinks about it. The dart doesn't come. And there's 1,000 metres now to the line. Just when they get up to this arch. There's so much watching and waiting. Behind, we haven't seen them for a while. They must be getting closer. At the minute, not close enough.
That's
and
early.
now it's for Hooijdonk. Again, a big move. Mohoric across the other side of the road, and as they come towards the Flamme Rouge, it's Wellens who tries to close this, and look at Nata for Hooijdonk go. Wellens is getting up into the slipstream, and it is Mohoric who has to try and close. He's done it once before. Wellens is right on the wheel now, and they're going to come into the final left turn with Nata for Hooijdonk waiting. Benoot's right at the back here. final left turn. There's been lots of fun and games, but nothing that's managed to stick. Tailwind here, and if you got the right time, it could be. Benoot is going to try and take his chance. Ghosts up the right and goes. And there is Tish Benoot with a gap. He has to try and hold it to the finish now. It's a tailwind here as well and sets off in support. Oh, and look at this. Tish Benoot might have just got it. Benoot's away. Benoot's riding. And is this going to be finally the day that he wins a race at home? Tish Benoot, who burst onto the scene a few years ago at the Ronde van Vlaanderen. We always knew he'd have to win alone. He picked his moment. He made the move. And in KUURNE, Brussels, KUURNE, Tish Benoot looks like he's about to hold on. They sprint behind, but he knows it's his day. 2 out of 2. Jumbo-Visma dominant. And you will not get a more popular winner than Tish Benoot. Fantastic at the start of the season for Jumbo-Visma. And when you came around the corner there, Adam Blythe, one man who you thought who wasn't going to win was Tish Benoot. His chance may be gone, but he ghosted up the right-hand side there, and it is a Jumbo-Visma 1-2. Now, can they also win the bunch sprint behind? Because Christophe Laporte is coming up through the centre. Around him, Arnaud Delis tries to beat him, but it's Laporte who's hanging on, and Christophe Laporte is also going to win the bunch sprint. Jumbo-Visma in dominant fashion. They did everything right. Benoot takes the win. Bang, they've done it again. It's a 1-2 and a bunch sprint behind.